Just saying. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, our next guest is Carol Swain. She is professor of political science and law at Vanderbilt University and author of Be the People, A Call to Reclaim America's Faith and Promise. Carol, my dear, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Hi, Carol.
Good book.
Hello.
Good book. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's a call to action to the American people. I wrote the book out of frustration with the direction of the country. I started it the summer of 2009 because there were so many things happening in Washington that I was aghast about, and it seemed as if things were happening so fast. It was difficult to keep track of it, so I decided to write a book that I hope will empower everyday Americans to feel efficacious when it comes to politics.
What was in 2009? And I'm sure you were thinking about the book for some time. But
the catalyst?
What was the catalyst to make you write that book?
Well, the original title for the book was America Deceived. I felt that, and I still feel that a lot of people that are in positions of power, politicians, that they engage in deliberate manipulation of the public. And the first chapter of the book, talks about Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, George Orwell's 1984, because sometimes I feel that we are very much living in an Orwellian society, and that we see the Alinsky tactics of infiltration, manipulation, deception being applied in so many different arenas. And I felt that there were many Americans that knew something was wrong. They've known in their gut that something was wrong, but they tend to hold back, to defer too often, I believe, to individuals that have degrees from elite institutions. If a person is on television and he or she has a degree from Harvard,
automatically
then,
they've got the right
must be
answers.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting, Carol. One thing that I found curious, and I'm curious to get your feedback. As a law professor, we all know about sort of this rise in incidents of insider trading by both Congress members, aides, et cetera. How do you feel, A, they should be treated, and B, how do we remedy the continuance of this? How do we stop this? And for those who don't know, I mean, this has been, in my mind, one of the sickest and most demented things, aside from some of the decisions that Washington has already done.
Aside from Penn State?
Aside from Penn State. Well, that too. But it incenses me. I don't understand how a financial professional is held and bound and reprimanded and censured and thrown in jail, but yet our government is free to trade as they do with inside information. How do we treat that? How do we handle it?
Well,
how would you
first
handle
of all, my heart bleeds for Martha Stewart because, she was really crucified for something that, in comparison, it seems very small. There's such a double standard. But when you see Congress engaging in insider trading, it used to be a lot worse. I don't know your age, but do you remember in the early 1990s the House Bank, the bank scandal where they had bounced some of them as many as 900 checks, and they had a system that they could write checks and they were never held accountable. The checks never bounced.
What about the House Post Office? What about, just go down the list of the laundry list. But this insider trading thing is beyond belief, because if a member of Congress can trade insider information, they can pass that insider information to somebody who's outside of Congress, and that person can trade on it.
But they're safe from laws now. Sorry,
of course they do that. And the way our system of government is set up constitutionally, there's no background checks for members of Congress or the president. I serve on the board of the National Endowment for the Humanities. I went through an extensive FBI check to serve on that board, and yet we have members of Congress, they get elected. The Constitution doesn't require a background check. I think we should amend the Constitution to require background checks of people that have access to top secret information, all kinds of sensitive information. We should want to know who they are and their backgrounds.
Yeah, but who's the question is who's going to push this issue in Congress, and even whoever promotes the bill, how are they going to garner support? Let's say number one for background checks, which a lot of members of Congress and including the president couldn't pass background checks. Now I'm saying this because I presume this to be true, not because I know any insider information. But the folks like us in the real world, we have to pass background checks all the time. Who's going to promote this and who's going to endorse it?
Well, the system is imploding. And I think that if we continue along the same path, that it's going to reach the point where we have to do something drastic. And when that time happens, I know plenty of people that we will have drafted and ready a constitutional amendment for term limits as well as background checks for federal officials. And what to do about the insider trading? The way Congress operates, it's hard to be one step ahead of them, so we're always behind them. But we just have to force them to police themselves and hold them accountable. Maybe they all need blind trust. I don't know. That's one way to try to deal with it, but we have to hold them accountable, not let it die.
Well, here's the problem with the blind trust. They even admitted this the other day, and we had the author, I can't remember the name of the book right now, we had him on, and we were talking about how you circumvent a blind trust. Is you call up your trustee as a member of Congress, and you say, I'm about to investigate ABC Corporation, not the Disney Channel, but ABC, and say thank you very much and hang up, and then he's on his own to do what he wants to do. So blind trusts aren't really so blind. They have pretty good vision.
And perhaps they're.
Well, then does the author of the book have a recommendation? We should defer to him since he uncovered all the dirt.
Oh, he's great. We're going to have him back on too. But I think most Americans had never even heard of the fact that members of Congress can trade on insider information, and they can. Here's the funny thing: they don't always just trade on their own insider information. They can create their own event by saying, "I'm going to investigate this company," and leaking that information, and immediately you're going to get a decrease in the price of that stock, and you can trade on that.
Well, I know that, and you're right. You're absolutely right.
You said something a minute ago that I want to follow up back on. You said when these things start to fall apart, we are going to have a candidate. We are going to have solutions.
We the people.
We the people.
We the people under the Constitution, because we are ultimately responsible for what takes place in Washington. And that's part of the message of my Be the People book, that it's not okay for us to just sit back and point fingers and say those politicians in Washington. We put them there, and so we are ultimately responsible for the programs and policies that they enact.
Are you a supporter of the Tea Party?
I have spoken at some Tea Party events.
Oh, and that, if it sounded accusatory, that's not. I'm a Tea Party fan. I'm good with that.
I respect the Tea Party. I understand the Tea Party, and they seem to get it. Like a lot of Americans don't seem to get what's at stake. The Tea Party seems to realize, that our nation and its future is at stake, the future of our children and our grandchildren. I wish more people would be galvanized. The Tea Party is actually standing up to be the people, and that's my call to action for we the people to stand up and be the people. We have to demand accountability, and we also have to get knowledge to understand how things work and how to change the system.
We all know, unfortunately, that the average person doesn't understand the intricacies of what goes on in government nor in finance. And I feel like, movements such as Occupy Wall Street, which I'd love to get your views on, are misdirecting the energy of the people to places like Wall Street when they need to be going to their Congress. They need to be going to the Senate. They need to be going to Washington.
Many of those people are educated, and so they may be stoned out on drugs. Some of them stoned out on drugs, but they're educated, so they ought to know. They just have so many
education doesn't give you common sense.
Ideas.
Education doesn't give you common sense, and that's
right.
And I guess that's what scares me about this country sometimes. I mean, we put our kids in schools, and we don't give them sort of any practical information. A lot of people don't get the practical information, and I when I see something like Occupy Wall Street, it drives me crazy because they're not directing all this energy where it needs to go.
The Tea Party is far more focused, and the Be the People book is really a call to action as far as returning to our Judeo-Christian roots. And it's not written just for people that believe in the Judeo-Christian God, but those that believe in American exceptionalism, that value the Constitution. So many of our civil liberties are eroded on a daily basis, And we are living in a society that's beginning to look like Orwell's totalitarian society. Those are things that I think should galvanize us.
Yeah, Carol, we have just about a minute or two left here. Do you think these 7 Republican candidates? Do you think that the Republican nominee will come from these 7? And is there anybody up there that you would pick personally as somebody who you believe supports what you believe?
I don't have a strong candidate, and I'm not so sure that any of the ones that are running now can defeat Barack Obama, because he is so wily, as in Wile Coyote.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm hoping for that miracle candidate to emerge. And I don't know who it is.
Can we just say Herman Cain is not likely to be that person? Michelle Bachmann's not likely to be that person?
Herman Cain should drop out. Michelle Bachmann, they need to clear the space so we can look at who's standing, and then we can hope maybe someone else will get into the race.
You bet. Well, let me remind everybody, we're talking with Carol Swain, author of the book "Be the People: A Call to Reclaim America's Faith and Promise." Is there anybody that can beat Obama right now? And I say that because we all assume that he's completely dead in the water and unbeatable. I think right now, if you held the election, Obama would win.
I kind of think so too, because he seems to have a mojo working on his behalf. And for myself, as a devout Christian believer, I think that we need a multi-pronged strategy. I think those people that believe in the miracle of prayer, I'm one of them, that they need to be praying their hearts out, and other people need to be engaging in activism. We do need to all right, Herman Cain, those people that invested all their energy in Herman Cain, they need to realize, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. All right, Newt Gingrich, I think he would be great debating Barack Obama. I'm a little bit disturbed about his flip-flopping. I don't like his immigration position, but if I were pushed against the wall, I would vote for him and just hope that he doesn't betray me, because he just seems like he's all over the place. I'm just hoping that when the musical chairs stop, that he would stop on most issues in a way that I found palatable. What I do like about him is that I think he loves America. I want a president that loves America and loves God and shows respect for family.
Last question, Carol. If there was one person you could pick for a Republican nominee or a Democratic nominee, I don't care, who's the one person, whether they're running or not, that you believe best reflects your values?
Lou Dobbs.
Interesting. Interesting.
I heard that one.
Anybody want to know my opinion?
I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Roger Staubach. I am still a one-man person for Roger Staubach. I'm sorry.
The one-man Roger Staubach.
Yeah, the one man who will not ever run. I want a leader. I want somebody who can't be bought. I want somebody of the highest integrity. I want. I don't want another person just like me. I want somebody 50 times better than me to be president. And that person's out there. There's 310 million of them to choose from, for goodness sakes. How hard can this be?
Well, I don't. It's not rocket science, and you don't have to know everything as long as you know how to appoint the right people.
Carol, we appreciate you being on very much. The website is Carol M. Swain, SWAIN .net. Carol, it's a great book. We'd love to have you back on. It's a lot of fun, and God bless you. And I hope you can get your message out, my friend.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
All right.